Since the dawn of time, man has dreamed of becoming an attack helicopter. But between the power of gravity and the need to sharpen a weapon with a whetstone, man was always brought back down to the ground. However, with the coming of the Safi'jiiva armor, times are changing, and now man can truly become the force to be reckoned with that he always wanted to be. Now, and never before, is man able to now maintain 100% sharpness, master's touch, and indefinitely fly around in the air with no regard for weak spots or weakening the monster. This is the Safi'jiiva build. But let's jump on into it, because this is honestly just goofy powerful. Probably one of the best things about this build is that this is actually a template that can be applied to any Blademaster weapon, whether you're running IG, switch axe, hammer, greatsword, whatever the case is, you are going to be able to absolutely decimate monsters with this setup. So jumping on into it, the first thing, of course, the centerpiece of the build is going to be the Safi weapon. Now, in particular with your Safi weapons, you are going to want the following awakened abilities: Teostra Technique, 2 Affinity increase 5s, Sharpness increase 6, and then Attack increase 5. You can obviously switch the attack out for something else if you want some more utility, but the important things here are getting 2 Affinity increase 5s, giving you an extra 20% affinity. The weapon comes with a base affinity of 5%, and then with an affinity increase here as well, we get 35 on the weapon, and this is going to allow us to reach our 100% affinity breakpoint. Moving down from there, Attack Charm 4. This is quite literally here just to give us 5% more affinity, boosting us on up to a baseline of just 40 from that and our weapon. Moving on to the gear, we are going to want 3-piece Safi and 2-piece Kaiser. Our weapon essentially counts as a 3rd piece of Kaiser, and this is what's going to allow us to get both Master's Touch and Dragonbane Awakening. So I would suggest the Safi Crown, Safi Van Braces, and Safi Boots, and then of course the Kaiser Coil and Kaiser Mail. Now, for some reason, if you really still do want to work with Weakness Exploit, instead I would suggest swapping these out and going for the Kaiser Van Braces, and then of course you could run the Safi Chest instead. But who has time to focus on weak spots? Who has time to constantly weaken the monster? Not I, that's who. So, moving on into the decorations. Now, obviously, this is designed a little bit more around IG, but I'll be taking a look at a Switch Axe variant in a little bit here. First, obviously, we want to get our crit eye up to 7. So we're running Expert Plus, Expert Expert, Flight Expert, Expert Expert. If you're not running IG, drop one of your experts, go for an Expert Plus, whatever works for you. We are going to be running Power Prolonger because it's just delicious to have. Allows the Kinsec buffs to maintain that much longer. So Enhancer Medicine and then 2 regular Enhancers. As for Handicraft, we need 2 points. Now, ideally, you would just want a Handicraft Plus deco. I do not have that, so instead I'm running a Fortitude Handy and a Stone Thrower Handy. One thing that is interesting with having a single point of Slinger capacity is you can use your Slinger ammo to launch the monster and still have 1 left over in the event that you need to rebuff your Insect Glaive or whatever the case is. Now, moving down from there, the only other thing we really have is a single Vitality. This is obviously going to synergize with our Vitalities in the Glider and Temporal Mantle, giving us Health Boost level 3. We need a single Crit Jewel to pull us on up to Critical Boost 3. And then this slot is kind of variable. I went ahead and dropped a Resistor in there just to bring the Blight resistance up to level 2. With that, any Blight we're afflicted with will only last for 15 seconds, so that's kind of nice. And altogether, I mean, there's a lot going on here. The Crit Eye 7, Attack 4, Recovery up is at 3, Crit Boost, Power Prolonger, Blight Resist, Handicraft, Health Boost, Airborne. We even have some Agitator coming on in from our Challenger Medicine deco up top. Fortify, Evade Window, Slinger Capacity. It's just all the damn skills. Now, the reason this all works, as I mentioned, is our weapon, just between our weapon and our gear, we are at a base 80 affinity. Now, the way the Safi'jiiva armor works is with the 3-piece, when you draw the weapon on out, you get 20 affinity, as well as a boost to your element or status. If you are running the 5-piece, you get a 40 affinity boost. But this works perfect with going for the Master's Touch, because now we are at a static 100% affinity and still able to maintain our damage. Our purple sharpness will never go down, even though we only have a sliver. It doesn't matter what we hit. We are infinitely at I mean, it's 100% affinity, master's touch. It doesn't matter. You don't need to sharpen your weapon. You hit whatever you want. You want to hit the part of the monster that's hard, you can do it. You want to hit the weak spots, you can do it. It doesn't matter where you hit. You're going to hit the monster, and you're going to crit, and it's crit boosted. Just to show a second version of this, switching up to the swacks. You can see with the swacks, I'm running blast. Like I said, just really run whatever you want here. Whether you want blast. I like blast, poison, and paralysis personally. But if you want element, go for element. But running it with the switch axe changed up a couple things. We have 2 jumping here, so I have access to evade extender 2. I picked up my 1 earplug so that I can zero-sum discharge through roars without getting bounced off. And besides that, it's basically the same exact template. If you were going to run this with Greatsword, you would slot in some focus instead, and you'd have focus on it. But this build as a template is incredibly potent. In every single case, going for the attack, affinity, sharpness, you're going to have that 100% sharpness, and you're going to be able to maintain it indefinitely. Now, one thing I want to touch on is resentment. Initially, when I was building this build, I did have resentment on, but the thing is, if you're going for health augment on your weapon, you'll heal so fast that you're not going to really have any uptime with resentment. Now, the whole reason resentment will work with this build is when you swing your weapon, you'll lose health while using the Safi armor. If you notice how as we keep swinging, our health is going down, and it is possible to actually cart yourself doing this. But the way it works is after you do a certain number of attacks with your weapon, and those attacks hit the target, you will trigger a healing thing. So, just for example, we'll get our health nice and low here. Recovery up does affect this, which is nice. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 hits with the switch axe to trigger the heal. Inset glaive takes 10 hits, and it's going to vary between weapon. Now, if you really want to max out your damage, and this is what I was originally doing, as opposed to the attack charm, you could instead run resentment charm, giving you 4 points of resentment there. And then in your deco slots and kind of this filler slot where I have resistor for the time being, you could also drop on in the Furor Jewel. And that's going to give you 25 attack, and that's going to be really beefy. If you're going to do that, of course, you also are going to have to drop health augment off your weapon. But by doing that, you basically trade health regen for another affinity increase. So it's the same exact build that I've showcased here. You still have 100% affinity, and you have even more damage coming in from resentment. Now, while I do think that is a more potent build, the main reason that I ended up sticking with health augment is, if you whiff at all, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation eventually. So by doing this, we don't need to worry, basically. As you can see, if I were to whiff that one blast, you can see I'm going through quite a bit of health. If I'm trying to get him out and the monster moves, that's a lot of health I've already lost, and I need to get back and get my attacks in. And ultimately, I found that having health augment on, it just provided a nice extra cushion. With Inset Glaive in particular, 2 aerial combos is enough to trigger the heal. Doing one of those can actually trigger the heal in and of itself, depending on how big the monster is. But the point is, this build is honestly silly. If you want to get damage even higher, slot on in the resentment. If you have better decorations, obviously you could go for Handicraft Plus here, which would still give you your purple sharpness. You could slot in a Challenger Plus here, and then you could run the Resentment Deco with Resentment right here, drop off health augmentation, and your damage is a ridiculous amount higher than it was before. So there's still flexibility with this build as well. And obviously we have 3 slots here just dedicated to just straight weapon utility. Whatever we want, we can change it on up as per the weapon. And honestly, I'm a big fan of not having to worry about weakness exploit. We've been able to do something like this for a while, just using weakness exploit, but there's times where maybe you can't hit that weak point. Maybe you just want to dance around on the monster's body. Well, now you can. You don't got to worry about the weak point. You just hit it wherever you want, and you keep permanent purple sharpness. Now, as for a comparison, let's compare this up to some of the other more popular glaives. Just swapping out the tree here. Here's the Stygian Obliviana. We got more damage. We have the same purple sharpness. We have 100% affinity. Seems like it's a winner to me. We have... Here's here we go. The lightning one, the despots. It's going to beat that out. Ruinous Catastrophe. You might be like, hang on, Ruinous Catastrophe has more damage. Yeah, but we got purple sharpness and 100% affinity. The point is, the build's just absolutely goofy. And like I said, you can swap in pretty much any Blademaster weapon and just beat ass with this. So let's take it out into a hunt, show you what it's capable of. Absolutely love this thing, and I think you guys will too. So for a hunt, we're going after an Azure Rathalos. About to show this baddie who the true King of the Skies is now. I think after this, the next is probably going to be a Charge Blade build, because the idea of just doing constant SAEDs with the Charge Blade without your sharpness ever dropping, it's borderline pornography. Going around the world, big guy. One thing that's fun, you'll notice, is since I have Slinger capacity up, even though I launched him, I still have enough stones to get another launch off. So one pickup, basically, you can buff your IG, get a launch, and get a second launch. Look at it. Absolutely no concern for where we're hitting. We're just here to do big damage. Put back on this to maintain our health boost 3. Look at that. With having recovery up, plus the Safi, plus health augment, just us attacking, it's like a constant potion coming on in. Ah, grab the wing. Wants to stay in the sky. We just need 2 of our aerial circle combos, and that's enough to proc our heal in full. Third mount coming up in a second. Yep, there it is. Like, this, it's just silly, you know? Power Prolonger is removing, you know, we don't have to worry about our Kinsects constantly. We have the sharpness, so we're maintaining that even during aerial battles. We're constantly critting, and we have crit boost, so our crits are looking juicy, like... And it's only made better by the fact that if we wanted, we could make this even stronger by going for resentment, you know? You could get more damage. You could easily get more damage. Or if you wanted more utility, you could easily, you know, you could go for the... You could work in earplugs or something, you know? You could work in earplugs, you could work in stun resist, like... The gear is honestly just, it's stupid strong. And because we have recovery up, you know, a single potion is going to be a ridiculously fat heal. This might hit him, let's see. Oh, yeah, it'll hit him. Like, there's nothing else that needs to be said. It's just silly, man. I love it. Look at that purple sharpness. Didn't drop once. Just, nope. Infinite purple. Doesn't matter what weapon we run it with. Any Blademaster weapon, infinite purple. And obviously you got the flexibility to go with whatever element or status you want. Like, oh my God, I love it. I love it. This is truly like peak lazy hunting too. Let's be completely aware of this. This is, you know, I don't need to focus weak points. I don't need to worry about weakening the monster to make sure my attacks can crit or do damage. I just, like, we didn't weaken the monster once. The Clutch Claw is pretty much just to wall bounce monsters with this build. And even then, it just annihilates stuff. Like, that was what, 6-7 minute kill on an Azure Wrath? 737, not too shabby. So either way, that's gonna wrap this one up. For more Iceborne stuff, come on by on stream. We typically do every Monday is Monster Hunter Monday, so we're always playing, doing the raid, hunting with viewers. Good times. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time.